I've mentioned before that in this class, for this part of the semester at least, I'm not going to be super stressing about finding the mean and the standard deviation by hand. I will go through it because on the off chance you are intending to take the AP test, it would be appropriate to know how to show the appropriate work for this. So the mean of any probability distribution is every individual x value multiplied by its respective probability, and then you will sum all those products. So I'm just showing my work for all of those products. You could get this value by hand using your calculator if you remember what we had done first semester, but I'm not going through all that. So instead, I'll just go ahead and put it in my calculator and get 0.3. For the standard deviation, this was when, usually I find the variance and then I square root it, or I could just say I'm going to take the square root of it. I just realized I wrote the variance formula up here. But I'm going to take every x value, subtract the mean that I just found, square that difference, and again multiply by the probability that that occurs. You will do that with every x value and probability and then add those results together. Now I'm a little out of room, but so once I square root that sum, I will have my standard deviation of this distribution of the number of ringers, which is about 0.557-ish. So I am supposed to interpret this, so just as a reminder how we interpret mean and standard deviations of probability distributions. So if this person plays many times, they can expect to average 0.3 ringers, and the number of ringers will typically vary about 0.557 from the average of 0.3. Part B is what I'd rather stress over because it's the newer information. Nikola gets 3 points for each ringer that he scores, which means I'm going to be doing a transformation here. So I'm going to go ahead and have my x be the number of points. I'm going to define that the number of points, again, is 3 per ringer, 3 times the number of ringers. And I know the probability distribution of ringers, so now I can apply my rules of linear transformations. I'm going to find my new mean and standard deviation for the points. So I want the average number of points, which means I'm taking the average of this 3R idea. But that just means I can multiply 3 to my original average I found earlier, which would be 3 times 0.3, so I'm getting about an expected value of 0.9 points. The standard deviation, I know a lot of times I have you guys go through and do the variance first, so I'll show you that version. So if I want the standard deviation, the variance of x, this is the variance of my 3R. So I can just take my variance of r and multiply not just by the 3, but the 3 squared. So remember, you can multiply a standard deviation by a constant. You can multiply the variance by that constant squared. So this is my 9 times the, I didn't write it down earlier. I should have written it down, the 0.31 that I had gotten before I square rooted. So if I take 9 times that, I'm getting a variance of 2.79. So it's possible in a moment I could get the answer just by square rooting that product, that result. Or again, technically I could have gone and just found my standard deviation first, because when you multiply by a constant, you just multiply your original standard deviation by that constant. So I could have just taken 3 times 0.557. I'm going to get the same result either method. It would be about 1.67-ish.